Welcome to the Prophecy Club, an unusual topic today. The topic is Israel to nuke Tehran. Now, is that about to happen? Okay, well, I'm going to have to tell you right up front. I do not have one prophecy, not one, that says that Israel is ever going to nuke Tehran. However, that does not necessarily mean it's not going to happen. And I'm going to show you some things whereas we as watchmen want to watch for. Okay. Now, before I get started on that, let me invite you to our Prophecy, Healing, and Deliverance Conference. We call it our PhD Conference for short. It's September 11th through 14th. We're going to have 6 speakers there. About 100 people is the limit as we're having it at the church. And we encourage you to come. And this will tell you all about it. Just go to prophecyclub.com, click on this, and it'll tell you all about it. Okay, so why would we even think that Israel is about to nuke Iran? Okay, well, let me just show you. Trump has said that everybody in Tehran should evacuate immediately. Okay, so what says nuclear about that? Well, if it was just regular bombs, why would the whole city of 300,000, matter of fact, and the surrounding area is something like a couple of million, why would that many people be told by President Trump to leave? Well, okay, well, maybe he's just trying to negotiate, art of the deal. Maybe he's trying to get people to understand just how serious it could be. Israel maybe is going to pull out some serious weapons. Or maybe that's exactly, maybe using a nuke is exactly what's about to happen. I'll show you. Now let's go to Truth Social. This was yesterday. No, excuse me, this was this morning. No, excuse me, last night. Publicity-seeking Emmanuel Macron of France mistakenly said that I left the G7 summit in Canada to go back to D.C. to work on, quote, ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Now, we know that's what he wants. But he said numerous times that he gave him 60 days, and on day 61, the bombs started falling. In other words, he's trying to say, Iran, what I say is what I mean is what I say, and you better be listening. I'm not going to threaten you. You just should listen. So anyway, he says wrong. He has no idea why I'm now on my way back to Washington. But it certainly has nothing to do with the ceasefire, much bigger than that. Okay, what's bigger than a ceasefire between Iran and Israel? I'm going to show you a couple of things from headlines, from prophecies I do have, that might give you cause to start praying. Okay. First of all, before I get into this, this is my daughter, my lovely daughter. And she's one that owns now and runs Joseph Kitchen. And I encourage you, if you are thinking about getting some kind of food, to go to josephkitchen.com. And if you use the promo code PROPHECY, I have worked out with them to give you, if you spend $500 or more, you're going to get a free bread slicer. And I'll show you that in just a second. Also, they have some videos up there, which I think I'm even on one of the videos, or maybe even 2 of the videos. But if you order $500 or more, right now you can get this bread slicer. That's the thing in the bottom left-hand corner. That's very nice for you to be able to put your loaf of bread in there. I mean, it sends a knife with it and everything. I use it for every one of the loaves of bread that I made. I just made 2 this past Saturday. As a matter of fact, my MO is I make 2 every 2 weeks on a Saturday. I wrap it in these bread bags and seal it up and put it in the refrigerator. So I keep mine in the refrigerator. And I don't know, I've kept it 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks, hadn't gone bad. So that's what I do. So what I recommend you do is go to josephkitchen.com and you first order a machine package. This guy right down here, okay? A machine package. That's the gizmos you need to grind the wheat, bake the bread. In other words, the machine's part of it in order to make bread. Then you order how much food you want. You want food 1 person 1 year. Feeding 1 person 1 year, $800, that's less than $100 a person. okay, per month. I mean, it's cheap. Matter of fact, I don't know of another way you can feed a person for a whole year. Also, this is food for 2 people 1 year, food people, well, 4 people 1 year, or 6 people 1 year. This is the one I recommend you get more than what you need, because when people find out you got food, they're going to be knocking on your door wanting some of your food. And as a good Christian, we want to help them. We want to supply them. So the question today is Israel about to use a nuke on Iran? I don't think that the prophecies say that this is going to go into a big war yet. I'll show you why. Again, 2002, Leslie had a dream. These were the points of the dream. First one was Arafat going to the hospital. I've covered this many, many, many times. And see, the way these things work is when God gives a prophecy, it's either all correct or it's all wrong. There's not parts of it correct and parts of it wrong. Okay, so that in that Arafat did go into the hospital and die there 2 years after she was told that confirms the rest of this from God. Okay, so let's look. So what it's saying is Israel will give the Palestinians a state. That's a big thing. Then it says that it'll be a temporary strategy to allow the Israelis time to strengthen the military. Then oil will be discovered. The oil makes the Jews willing to fight for the land. And I'm going to add, it'll also give them the money to build up their military. But then, and only then, will we see Israel and America go against most of the rest of the Arab world. Meaning, until you see a Palestinian state given, there's not going to be a big war between Israel and anyone else in the Middle East. This is not the time. Israel will recognize they can't beat all of the Muslim nations around them yet. So they've got to strengthen the military. About that time, oil is discovered, and the oil makes Jews willing to fight for their land. Now, let's go on to the next one. This 2006. I've covered this many times. I want to talk about this a second. You see, it says Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Well, she did not see that word written. It was an audible voice speaking to her. So we don't know what Omer is. We think it's the 49 days between first fruits and Pentecost. That's called the counting of the Omer. But on the day she had this dream, I remember specifically the current Prime Minister of Israel had some kind of a stroke or something. He later died. And so they temporarily put Ehud Omer, and that's the way you pronounce his name. I think you spell it O-L-H or O-H-L-M-E-R-T, but you pronounce it Omer. Ehud Omer as the temporary prime minister. And I remember thinking, oh, I'll bet you he's the guy that's going to bring in the Palestinian state. Now, Ehud Olmert is still alive, but he's pretty much out of politics. Okay, so what is this saying? Well, it's saying that if it was the counting of the Omer, and if it was this year, it would have been done by June 1, but we passed June 1, and it hadn't been done. It could be that maybe Netanyahu is replaced with some guy whose last name sounds like Omer. We don't know. But the audible voice of God told me in the night, June 27th of 2007, that was the same night I heard him say, Stan, I will give you the money to drill the well in Israel. And I answered with the oil well, but there was no further words. Now, every time I say that, I got to give you a disclaimer. We cannot guarantee we're ever going to get the money drilled for or hit oil in Israel. Now, to me, I think that God confirmed all of these headlines, both this one and this one, are confirmed to me because I saw Leslie holding up these newspapers, various newspapers, standing in front of our fireplace, newspaper after newspaper, newspaper. She was holding up, showing those headlines on the newspaper. Bible says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. Now, back to our question. Is Israel about to nuke Iran? No. I don't think, but, I'm going to show you something here in just a second that will raise an eyebrow. So could it be that even later this year, somehow Netanyahu gets replaced, or maybe somehow there's a movement in the Israeli government, and there is some guy that steps forward, and the headline someplace in the world does say something that sounds like Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Then, after that, now remember this, because I'm going to show you some other things here in just a second to tie this together. The next headline, and by the way, this is not the order they were given. The first one she was actually given was Israel refuses help to America. But I moved it down to 4 the way I understand it, because there was not necessarily an order given. But I'm just telling you this is not necessarily the order. So they could be changed up, okay? Number 2, catastrophe hits America. I'm pretty sure that's number 2, because that catastrophe is probably the Great Lakes opening up down to the Gulf of Mexico. In other words, a giant earthquake. As a result of that, one of America's greatest times of need, Israel refuses help to America. Then Israel is attacked, America sends troops. Then number 6 happens. In other words, number 6 here is the same as number 5 here, okay? Israel is attacked, America sends troops. Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. And of course, when this came out in 2006, most of America supported Israel. But now, since Harvard and a lot of other people have let people in that don't support Israel, now I can see where that would take place. But in 2006, I thought, how can that happen? America supports Israel. Well, not all of America supports Israel anymore. Then she heard my voice, quoting Dmitry Duduman, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America. Now, let's put this together. What this is saying is there's not going to be a big war in the Middle East until a Palestinian state, oil is discovered, the oil has to give Israel enough money to build up their military, then Israel and America go against most of the rest of the Arab world. And then that doesn't happen until there's a Palestinian state, which is what this says, and there's an earthquake. Now, remember the earthquake, because I'm going to show you some other things here in just a second. Then all of the other headlines start coming to pass. Now let's jump to some headlines. Ask yourself this as I show you these headlines, which were brought forth by John Paul Jackson, and this was like 20 years ago he got these. More explosions in Tel Aviv, radioactive traces found. Could that headline appear in the next 24 hours? Could it be that Tehran has developed a partial nuclear weapon? Maybe it didn't get finished all the way, or maybe they just take some of the radioactive material and stick it in the head of a bomb and get it to explode. So could that headline appear today? I think you got to say, yeah, that headline could appear right now. Because right now, more explosions are happening in Tel Aviv as we speak. Matter of fact, it could be that one of them already had radioactive material in it, and we're already about to see the newspaper headline say this now. Okay, let's go on to the next one. What other secret weapons does Israel have? Has Israel played all its cards? Okay, now we're getting to what I want to talk about. So Trump says everybody, some 300,000 people, should leave Tehran. So what if Israel pulls out their secret weapon that this newspaper headline is talking about? We don't know what it is. Maybe it's a laser. As you remember, the Bible says that before them was Garden of Eden, and after them was a desolate wilderness. So it's something that maybe it's in a satellite or a plane or maybe a drone, and they fly it over a city and just whoom, all of a sudden it's not a nuclear weapon, but it destroys pretty much like a nuclear weapon. Because if you go into Ezekiel 38 and 39, you'll find 8 different times it says that Israel will be dwelling peacefully, safely, all of them. Well, they're not peaceful. They're not safe right now. The Arab neighbors around them want to kill them. So that tells me that sometime before Armageddon, there has to be a big war, that Israel emerges the great victor, and vanquishes all of her Islamic neighbors all around her. Because as long as there is Islam, which, by the way, Islam is basically Allah, is Baal, which is, you remember Moses, when he came down off of the mountain, he said, with the Ten Commandments, he saw him worshiping the golden or the molten calf. That's Baal worship. He told his people to go into the tent and slay every one of the people that had worshiped Baal the night before. That was 3,000. He didn't let one of them that had worshiped Baal live. So basically, I mean, I have Muslim friends, okay? I'm not trying to beat up on Muslims, but if you follow that example, you can read it without me having to say it. I shouldn't say it, okay? So what is this saying? What are the secret weapons does Israel have? Has Israel played all its cards? What if in the next few days, the next few weeks, or maybe in the next few months, Israel pulls out a secret weapon? These Israelis, these Jews are very smart. They win most of the Nobel Prizes. What if they have a secret weapon that can just devastate an army in front of them? See, that makes sense, doesn't it? Let's go on. There's more. Israel says if missiles hit Jerusalem, Mecca will be hit within minutes. Could we see that newspaper headline in the next day or so? Absolutely. Because to my knowledge, the missiles from Iran have been hitting military targets, and in the last few days, it's now been hitting civilian targets, mostly in Tel Aviv. I have not heard one fell in Jerusalem. So that newspaper headline right there, we could see that. Let me read it again. Israel says if missiles hit Jerusalem, Mecca will be hit within minutes. I know you're thinking, well, wait a minute, Saudi Arabia wouldn't attack Israel. What the whole point is to attack Allah, to attack Baal, and the head of that is Mecca, Saudi Arabia. So back to it. Could we see all three of those headlines in the next few days? Yes. Yes. You got to say yes. Yes. Yes, we could see those headlines in the next few days. Are there more headlines? Yes, there are. Ask yourself this. Could this appear pretty soon? Blight and grains spreading. Do you remember that they have caught 3 Chinese people coming over with possible food weapon, a roundworm, and then some kind of a fungus that could attack our grains? It specifically said for wheat and for barley and rice. Boom, blight and grain spreading. Could we see that? Could we see that this year? Absolutely. Could we see that headline in the next few months? We sure could. All I'm saying is, I don't think we should throw these headlines away. I think we need to look at them. We need to be aware of them. Record high temps accompany record drought swept south. We've been seeing all kinds of crazy weather. I've told you it's scalar wave. They can make any portion of the atmosphere super hot, super cold. It can destroy anything in the air, on the ground, on the sea, under the sea, any place on the globe, and perhaps any place in the solar system, anytime they want to. They can make tornadoes, they can make droughts, they can make freezes, they can make ice storms, hail, all of that. So could this headline show up this summer? Better know it could. Demand for classic seeds skyrockets. Why? Well, it sounds to me like this blight is hitting something that is hybrid. Well, what's hybrid? Well, a lot of our corn is hybrid. I mean, I'm not an expert, I'm not a farmer, but there's a whole bunch of hybrids out there. There's hybrid peaches, there's hybrid oranges. I mean, what do you think of nectarine? It's a hybrid, okay? So maybe it doesn't affect this blight. Maybe what it's saying is it doesn't affect the genuine, the God-made seeds. All right, on to the next one. Food prices lead to nations escalating inflation woes. Well, wait a minute, inflation's going down. Yeah, inflation was hitting, but it's going down. So maybe this one's down the road. I hope so. However, Cisco and Kraft considers guards on delivery trucks as food nears 40% of the family budget. Well, that's going down. But remember, on June 6 and 7, they're having a BRICS meeting. And reportedly, they're going to bring the BRICS currency live this summer. What does that mean? That means that our dollar could start. Look, Trump doesn't control the dollar, just like he's called Federal Reserve Chairman or what was it? What was his name? Powell, the Federal Reserve Chairman. He's called him in 2 weeks ago, and basically he told him lower the interest rates. He wouldn't do it. Trump's not in charge of our dollar. He's not in charge of the Federal Reserve. That's the whole point of them coming out with an entirely new system, is to go around the old system, the Federal Reserve, the international bankers that control it. So, could we see inflation go up by the end of summer? Absolutely. Could we see the value of the dollar start dropping with all the tariffs and everything? I mean, Trump is for America, but he is also, I mean, you got to admit it. I mean, I like him, but a lot of people don't. And with Trump, you either like him or you hate him. You want to scratch his eyes out. Now, let's go on to the next one. Drought continues to cause prayer to rise. That fits, doesn't it? Now, let me take you to a dream that Jason Meeks had. I've only read it once. It was a long time ago. However, it plays here. The dream started out, I'm standing in line at a grocery store in a strip mall. Not standing inside the store, but outside with thousands of people in line. We were all waiting to get in the store to buy food. Catch that. The store was only letting a few people in at a time, and the shoppers in the store had to purchase and leave before others were let into the shop. It looked like a 70s communist breadline in the Soviet Union. People were waiting so long that some of them were just getting their haircut at the nearby barber shop. There was a waiting list to get even a haircut. You had to sign up for a specific time. When I got to the store, I went to purchase eggs. Now, eggs have been big in the news lately, okay? When we went in, you could only buy a few items. There was no loading up your cart with whatever you wanted. Whatever you bought, you had to carry it out in your hands or a small bag. I went to buy 2 big packages of jumbo eggs, but there were hardly any eggs there, and what was there was cracked and no good. I managed to buy 2 cartons of small eggs. I knew that the only way we're going to make it was Joseph's Kitchen wheat. I hope you're catching that. Joseph's Kitchen wheat. We had previously purchased. The eggs would be used to making the bread, but we could not have survived off the eggs alone. In the dream, we'd already eaten everything in our house, all the canned goods, peanut butter, etc. But the reason we went to get eggs was to supplement our bread made from Joseph's Kitchen wheat. This was months after whatever had caused the food shortage. At this point, people were peaceful. But you had more than a handful of food, they would take the chance and steal it from you. Scene changed. I was in a Zoom meeting with the people all over the country who were supporters of Prophecy Club, good, faithful Christians. You could not release some of the information publicly, only by Zoom. The Lord had given you and Leslie dreams with prophecies about things that people must do now to secure their food for their family, as there were multiple supply disruptions in the nationwide food distribution chain. Joseph's Kitchen was still going. Just getting it to the people was intermittent at this point in the crisis. Now, I talked to my daughter Sunday. We had dinner over at the house. She, again, owns and runs Joseph's Kitchen. And she explained to me that they're very excited. They've got some very good new suppliers for wheat, some very, very fine wheat. The right wheat, with the right protein. I asked her all about it. But they're also having difficulty getting supplies in some other areas. Now, they are able to fill orders, but there's a lot of difficulty out there. So I'm just telling you, don't wait. Don't put it off. There were many people on the Zoom call. You instructed me to go to work at UPS because the Lord had told you they were delivering eggs to grocery stores undercover. People were not robbing UPS trucks because they didn't think there was any food on them. Bread trucks, beverage trucks, anything like that got hijacked. Other people who lived in the cities had other instructions as what to specifically do for them. I went to work for UPS. We had a big brown 24-foot box truck and delivered eggs to the roughest section of the city. We were really taking our life into our hands going into this area. I was working with my cousin, a good man but not saved. We had worked all day long, and my pay was 2 dozen medium eggs. No paycheck, just eggs. In other words, they paid him with eggs. Can you see that this year? I don't want to, but I have to say I think I can. Thankfully, our new order from Joseph Kitchen had arrived. I quit working at UPS because it was so dangerous. My cousin had to keep me working because he was unprepared. Now, go back to a couple more of these. I'm about to run out of time. A couple more of these newspaper headlines. Politics and trust, the new oxymoron. I think right now we're trusting politics because Trump is in. Other than that, maybe not. Cyber attack cripples grid, multiple collapses with restart efforts. Could it be that some of the Iranians, some of the Muslims that Biden let in start blowing things up? We've suspected that. Hello, I'm Stan.
And I'm Leslie Johnson.
And we want to invite you to the PhD, the Prophecy, Healing, and Deliverance Conference.
So I hope you'll come from September the 11th through the 14th.
We have 6 seasoned ministers, 10 sessions, 2.5 days. I'm going to be speaking on Mark of the Beast, dangers of AI, and the new timing of the rapture.
And I'm going to speak on how to get ahead spiritually, close those spiritual doors, and the role of the prophet.
Lou and Sunhee Deliverance Ministries are going to be speaking on healing childhood experiences, what is eating at you, spirit of infirmity, and yes, they will be doing deliverances.
Yes. And then Pastor Kate and Jonathan will be speaking on relationships.
It's limited to 100 registrations, so go to prophecyclub.com, get signed up, or
traintheprophets.com. We hope to see you there.
If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper. And as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice.